Divinitas salutaras, vertebras libertas.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Rome Remastered Roleplay announcement video. It's the 3 R's, the Rome Remastered Roleplay. So, as I outlined at the start of this campaign and also at the end of the last video, there's going to be a roleplay element to this campaign, as there has been to a few Total Wars in the past. And now is the time, with the demise of our beloved Hanno, we are now at a point where it's going to happen. It's ready to start. We're ready to rock and roll. I think the lighting is going to be quite up and down because of the sun, but hey ho, I'm going to roll with this. I've got one take. I'm on my lunch break, and to get this up in time, I'm going to have to do it now. So any slip ups, any cock ups, I'm going to have to roll with it, okay? So this introductory video is to let you know what's going on. Basically, we're going to cover the mechanics of the roleplay and how it's going to work in the first half of this video. The second half of the video will then be an overview of the campaign to allow those of you taking part to be able to plan and prepare and roleplay effectively based on how it's going to work. So without further ado, let's dive into the first half of this, which is me telling you how it's going to work. So this roleplay is going to be a throwback to the very first roleplay that we did in some respects, because the very first roleplay that I ever did was, of course, with the Medieval 2 English campaign, which was my first LP. And the way that roleplay worked is members of the community at the time, the subscribers, the viewers at the time, roleplayed as characters on the campaign map, as family members on the campaign map. And I can still remember the vast majority of those generals, of those family members, off the top of my head. You know, Josiah Savdratovich, Ralph Watkins, Simon Maitland, Mitchell, Nicholas Horston, all of those guys, Aelfgar the Honest. The names roll off the tongue quite easily, not because I've sat here and thought about it for ages, and because they were memorable characters. Sigmund of Albrighton, because people roleplayed as them and created stories with them and went on escapades with them. Simon Maitland beating back the Danes, Nicholas Horston defending Dijon staunchly, Aelfgar the Honest rampaging through the Scandinavia, Mitchell going to Marseille, being beset by the populace, and then going to Rome and basically taking down the Pope. These stories all developed through the roleplay, and hence why these generals were so memorable for me, even 11 years later. So I'm hoping to create something quite similar here, with people taking control of the family members and creating stories in the campaign as a result of that. So that's how the crux of this is going to work, a very similar way to the original Medieval 2 roleplay. But there will also be an element of some of the later roleplays that took place on the forums, such as the original short campaign Rome and Shogun 2, where people didn't have control of family members but actually created their own characters who were then elected to an office that had an oversight of various elements of the campaign, such as diplomacy and religion, or agent movements, or army, military movements, or construction. Various offices they had control over and were elected to those offices rather than specifically controlling family members. We're going to be doing that as well. Because in addition to people having control of family members, there will be 4 small council positions taking influence from Game of Thrones. The small council will contain 4 offices, 4 office holders will form this small council who will have influence over elements of the campaign. And people can be elected to the small council, whether you're a family member or whether you're not, because there won't be enough family members probably to go around. And I want to encourage people to have a reason to create their own characters and role play as people that aren't family members. And this is one of the kind of ways that hopefully will promote people to get involved as non-family members, because you can still be elected to a council position, even if you're not a family member. Even if you're not a family member and you're role-playing your character and your character's showing a level of competence, family members might take you on as a formal advisor into their own personal court. The faction leader, myself, might do that. So even if you're not a family member, if you create a character, your character has proven to be quite a competent individual in the roleplay, there will be opportunities for you to still have an influence over the campaign itself. So please, I'm encouraging people to get involved, even if you're not a member of the Carthaginian family. So in terms of this council member, in terms of this small council, the 4 council positions will be the Master of War, who will be responsible for the recruitment of the formal armies that go out on campaign, of which there is only one at the moment. The makeup of those armies, how they're going to be recruited, where they're going to be recruited from, and then we'll work together with the faction leader to determine which family member would be best leading those armies. Think like consular armies of the Romans. So that's the Master of War. Master of Ships will be responsible for the recruitment of navies and deploying those navies and what those navies do, whether it's just patrol, whether it's take down the enemy fleets in the area, whether it's to blockade ports. All matter of ships, all things ships, will be down to the Master of Ships. The Master of Coin will be responsible for the recruitment and the deployment of merchants and diplomats, and the Master of Whisperers will be responsible for the recruitment and the deployment of spies and assassins. So 4 council positions available, as well as, of course, the family members' spots. So nice opportunities for character development, for promotion, if you will, for everybody involved. And that's how this campaign is going to work. It's a combination of the 2 styles of roleplay that I've done in the past, merged together to hopefully provide a really enjoyable experience. So the roleplay itself will run on the Discord. By the time this video goes up, there should be a Rome Remastered roleplay section, which will have 5 channels in it. The first channel will be an introductory channel for people that want to create their own characters, and that will be the channel where you can introduce us to your character. There will be an officers' discussion and debates kind of area, where the family members will discuss and debate and roleplay amongst themselves. There will be a small council chamber of some such, where the 4 council members, the small council members, as previously described, where they will specifically debate things in relation to their council positions and what they have control over. There will be an official orders channel, which will be the place where the family members and the council members will put down their orders for what they want to carry out, or want me to carry out in the next video, so that I don't have to wade through all the conversations to figure out what the hell they want. It's going to be put in a nice place, ready and waiting for me to play that out in the next session. And then the last area, the 5th channel, will be the general roleplay area, which is open to everybody. It's where, if you're not a family member, that's where you will roleplay your stories. Family members or council members might dip in and dip out of that area, depending on the stories that are coming out of the general RP area. We may well colour coordinate and colour code certain people according to their station on the old roleplay as well. Give them a little nice fancy colour on their name. Who knows? So that's how it's going to run. That's the mechanics of it. In terms of actually playing out the roleplay itself, obviously family members, you have control over your character to some degree. Most family members will be governors, so you're going to have control over your settlement, over the area, over your little zone of control, recruitment of your garrison, or disbanding or tweaking it in terms of what it looks like, the construction of the buildings, your kind of build policy, your tax rate of your settlement, whether or not you put watchtowers around the place, whether you put forts to put, in choke points to help defend your settlement. all of that will be under your control as a family member, as a governor of an area. All that's down to you and available for you to have control over. Of course, if you're on campaign as maybe one of the two leaders of the two armies, the two campaigning armies, you might have a bit of say over how we go, where we go, a little bit about how you might want your me to play out the battles in terms of strategy, etc. But when it comes to really, really, really important decisions, such as dragging us into a war against another faction, or you have an idea that your character is going to suddenly go from mainland Spain all the way over to Italy for no good reason, of course, me as the faction leader will have the final say, the final veto to ensure that people don't go too far off on a tangent or do something completely outlandish. So I do have the right of veto to any decisions if I don't feel that they're going to be beneficial for not just, of course, the campaign, or the roleplay rather, but for the campaign as well. There's still a campaign to play out, you know what I mean? But I'm determined to try and let people have as much leeway as possible to influence, things within reason, of course. But it's going to be good to see the stories that come out, and people might want to roleplay their character in a certain way. You might have ulterior motives. You might be doing things just for your own personal development, and rather than the good of the old family. You know, this is the thing about roleplay. There's going to be different people role-playing characters, and different outlooks on things and stories that will come out of it. And that's why it's been so much fun in the past, and why some of the characters in the past have been so memorable. So I'm hoping to recreate that through the roleplay here. So looking forward to seeing how that pans out. So yes, that's the crux of it. It's quite simple, really. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Family members on the campaign map will be controlled by yourselves. There will be a small council of 4 officers. Family members or non-family members are available to be elected, so please get involved even if you're not a family member. It will run on the Discord over the 5 mentioned channels, and yeah, that's basically as simple as it is. So in terms of the faction family members, how do you get involved? How do you put your name down? Well, it's quite simple. It's running on the Discord, so send me a DM on Discord. If you want to take control of a family member, DM me on Discord a very short message. I'm interested in being involved in the RP as a family member. Boom, done. And I will collate a list of names of interested people. I will ensure that it's split between regular Discord and subscriber commenters, and perhaps not so regular, so that we get a nice mix. But I will be picking at complete random. So I'll be picking you at random to control a family member, and then I will be picking at random which family member you control. So you're not specifying which family member you want. You're just specifying that you want to take control of a family member, and I will allocate those at random to whoever is picked at random to take part as a family member. So yeah, quick Discord DM message to me that you're interested. I'll collate a list of names, and then I will pick at random. Family members will come. Family members will go as the campaign progresses. I will keep the list of names. Even if you miss the initial pick, you can still keep DMing me as the campaign progresses to be added to the list, because I will pick a family member at random when one becomes available through marriage or through coming of age. So I'll keep that list active, and I'll keep adding to it or taking off it if and when you want to be added or taken off the list. Just let me know through a DM message, and we'll keep topping up like that. So that's the family member side of it. Quite simple and completely at random. The small council, how were you elected to become a small council member? Well, that's going to be determined by your competence in the roleplay. If your character is completely incompetent, whether that's through roleplay or through natural incompetence, then you're probably not going to be selected. And also, it's going to be based on activity as well. So if you're really active in the roleplay, then you're more likely to be picked than if you're not active. And likewise, if your family member's not active for an extended period of time, will probably be recast. But if you're showing great competence in the roleplay with your character, it's more likely you're going to be picked for the small council. So that's the first kind of prerequisite. The second one is there will be an application. So, you're going to have to apply for the position, and the faction leader will determine what that application is at a later time. But it's an elected position. It will run for a certain period of time. Maybe it's 4 years, 5 years. There'll be a set term, and it will be reviewed. But yeah, competence combined with application equals election. Quite straightforward, I think. So that's it. That is basically it for the campaign. I hope I've explained it well enough. I'm doing this in one take because I do have to get it done. If there are any questions, leave them in the comments section of this video, and I will answer them. Likewise, if there's any other questions or crop up during the course of the roleplay, then in the Rome Total War non-roleplay channel, which there is one at the moment, you can put some questions in there, or we might even throw up a sort of a question and answer channel just in case. But yeah, I don't think I've left anything out. I've got a list of things to cover, and I've covered everything. So the only last thing to cover is timescales. So as you're seeing this video, everything should be set up on the Discord, but the channels will be locked at the moment. Your first task, of course, is to DM me an interest for a family member. I will pick the family members on Saturday morning with a hangover because I'm drinking heavily on Friday. I'm going to pick the family members on Saturday morning. So get your applications to me before Saturday morning. I'm not going to give you a cut-off time, but if you want to have the best chance, don't leave it until the last minute. Get it in as early as possible, your interest, and I'll round about sort of 11ish, half 10ish. I will pick the family members this Saturday. I will be doing an announcement video Saturday afternoon, which will announce who was successful via the random number generation. And so I will announce the family members. I will announce the official start of the campaign, or the start of the roleplay rather, which will start literally probably round about sort of 2-3 o'clock. As soon as that announcement video goes up, that will signal the official start of the roleplay. You can start roleplaying from that point onward. And the first video that I will be recording will be next Saturday, which means you've got from the start of the roleplay on Saturday with the announcement video until the following Friday midnight-ish, Saturday morning, early hours of Saturday morning, to get your role-playing done and your official orders to me so that I can play out that first video next Saturday. If that makes sense. It'll make more sense when I do the announcement video on Saturday, but that's just to give you a feel for the general timescale. The most important timescale for you to remember right now is get your interest to me for a family member by the early hours of Saturday morning. That's as much as you need to do for now. And the roleplay will be officially announced on Saturday afternoon with the faction family members, and that's when all the channels will be opened for you to start diving in and roleplaying. And that is basically going to be the pattern for the entire roleplay. All videos for this roleplay will be recorded on Saturday, so all official orders will have to be in sort of early hours Saturday at the latest, and then the video will be uploaded on Sunday. The proper videos will be uploaded on Sunday. I'll make them about an hour so that you've got a good chunk to watch, but it will be one a week because you've got to allow time for role play and obviously people's other commitments outside of this. So one a week tends to be a decent amount of time to allow the role play to happen, the orders to be sort of pulled together, and then me to play out the session. So yeah, one Rome video of an hour's length a week on a Sunday. This is the only series that needs to stick to a schedule, so I'm sure I can manage just the one. So that's it. That is how the roleplay is going to work. Hopefully, we're going to get enough people for it to be enjoyable. And the next part of this video is going to be an overview of the campaign, because we need to see where we are in the campaign. I'm going to go through the family members just so that you've got sight of where they are, what they're doing, their traits and stats, so that if you are selected, you can have a point of reference to start your role-playing. But yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy, and until next time. Well, I'll see you in a second, because I'm going to record this separately, actually. But yeah, for now, I'm logging off. Back to work. After work, I'll do the second session. See you soon. Okay, so this is the second portion of the old Rome Remastered introductory video, and it's an overview of the campaign map, including a look at the faction members, just to enable you to be able to have a starting point to commence your role-playing. A couple of things I forgot to mention in the first video. First of all, I will also be including a link to the save games in all of the videos going forward, including this one, just so that if you do have the game and you are wanting to use the game save and put it into your own game and have an in-depth look at things to help aid your role-playing, you can do that. And the second thing is, I don't think I mentioned actually the time scale for the small council to kick in. The small council won't kick in until after the first video, which will be next Sunday. The first video will go up next Sunday after you've had a week's chance to roleplay, of course. And that will obviously allow for people to roleplay their characters and start to develop them and at least have something to draw upon for the faction leader to consider. So yeah, there'll be no small council for the first week's worth of role-playing, but the small council will kick in after the first role-play official video of the campaign, which will be next Sunday. So that's that. Okay, so this is now going to be an overview of the situation that we find ourselves in across the land, and a quick look at the faction members, of course, who will be role-played by yourselves. So first of all, we'll start here, west to east, as has always been the case here. Corduba, almost a poisoned chalice, isn't it? But of course, currently almost beset by two Spanish armies. Theapanus, the man who took, if I recall, Tingi, had a little bit of a cock up there, but nonetheless he's still alive. He's 33, and he's got himself a pretty decent garrison here. I'm going to just flash these on the screen, pause if you want to see in more detail, which I don't think the Spanish will kind of meddle with, but I did throw the question out there, which may you wish to consider if you are Theapanus. Do we or do we not bribe this army away? Well, 6,000. It's probably a decision that needs to be made, not just off your own back, of course, but if you want to put a case forward for that, then feel free to do so. But yeah, it's not completely smooth sailing down here. In terms of the situation with the settlement, there are the buildings that your settlement currently has. You're going to have to kind of pause and work out what they are. But these are the settlements that you can build at the moment, including a governor's palace to upgrade the place. You've got all these buildings available to you to left to build. Maybe seeing this faction the tree here, the construction tree, might be of assistance in terms of the levels of the buildings that are left available. They're all level 2 buildings currently. And in terms of the tax rate here, it's set to normal at the moment, which is just about keeping the populace relatively happy. In terms of the general then himself, Theapanus, he's 33, he's got a command of 4, an influence of 2, and a management of 1. He has a merchant follower, and of course there are his traits. A man of command talent with understanding of strategy. He's sharp, devout, a confident commander, and a night fighter. And he also has some stats here as well. Pretty good at trade, this man. So that's Theapanus, who currently oversees Corduba. Tingi, of course, has got no governor, so I won't focus on that too heavily. So moving swiftly on, Palma currently has no general, because the general of Palma currently is Bomulcar, who is aged 25, command 2, influence 1, management 1. He's got those stats. He's got a mentor as a follower, and he's reverent, has an understanding of logistics, and is a social drinker. He's sunned himself on the beach drinking cocktails for far too long now. He was going to be put to use, hence why he's coming in a boat down towards Carthage. What use will that be? Well, it now shall be determined by others. But there's Bomilcar, currently in the middle of the Mediterranean. Cirta, we have Yeehaw, for short, who is governing the place at the moment. There's his garrison. Currently the place is building paved roads. In terms of what people can recruit, I forgot to mention here, you can actually recruit those units. Iberian Infantry, Round Shield Cav, biremes, and a diplomat at this current moment in time. So here in Cirta, as I said, there he is, Yeehaw! So look at his stats. He's 311 with a Priest of Baal. Very difficult to bribe, this man. Very difficult to bribe. A very loyal man, which we like. And there's his traits. He's a good commander, untouched by fear. He's a bureaucrat, publicly loyal, sharp, and even-handed. A very just man. A very high tax rate at the moment, squeezing the populace. I thought he was a just man. And in terms of the buildings already available here, they are in all their splendour. In terms of what can be recruited here, well, this was focusing on recruitment. So there's your units. Also able to retrain because we've just finished the blacksmith. And in terms of the actual construction, again, this place is also ready for a governor's palace. We've got a market there, sewers and communal farming available. And there's a quick look at the family tree, the old tree, construction tree. Just a couple of level 2 buildings left on the old list. So that's sold Cirta and Mr. Yeehaw. Should you end up in control of him. That's the current situation that he finds himself in. Here we have Demidi and good old Zixus, or Zuxis Lixus. Quite the tongue twister if you end up with this man. Might want to give us a nickname for you, make it easier for us. But he's a young 17-year-old. One command and nothing else. No followers just yet. Confident commander. He's a blank canvas. He's a blank canvas, so there's the scope to take him in a direction through actions. He's in the middle of the desert at the moment, but I did kind of skirt with the idea and threw it out there as to whether or not he would be best served actually supporting Theapenus up here in Spain on what could well be a front line should the Spanish attack us. Worth considering. But for the time being, not much really to do here down in Demidi. Low tax rate already, which is as high as it can possibly go without ticking the populace off. Can't really recruit a great deal other than a few agents and peasants and town watch. Currently we're building a communal farming, and these are the buildings available to construct. Mainly military, which as I was playing didn't really interest me, given that it's far away from the front lines and it would just be a waste of money. So not really too much to do there, but the general may well move. So that's good old Zuxis Lixus. So where else are the other family members? Lepsis Magna, of course, is under attack, which is pertinent because it may determine what we want to do as a faction, but there's no family member down here. But it's worth noting, we are beset and probably going to lose it. Because there's a family member there and all we have in here is peasants and town watch, so that's a very difficult situation. Thapsus, again, no family member in there. Got Numidian mercenaries that we're going to go down to help relieve the settlement, but Hanno who was also in this boat, died. I've realised that Hanno has died aboard some ships. This happened to King Lawrence, I believe, in the Medieval 2 campaign, so another death at sea. Our most esteemed leader died at sea, going to relieve Lepsis Magna. His son died on the battlefield, trying to relieve the siege of Lepsis Magna. This place is cursed. Perhaps we should just lose it. It's caused 2 deaths, essentially. So yeah. Anyway, back to family members. I, of course, am Hasdrubal, the faction leader. So I shall be in control of him. Currently, I am going to take control of the first standing army, the first kind of campaigning army. Although I could be persuaded to step aside. Maybe. Depends. But as things currently stand, I'm in charge, so I shall do as I want. So yes, the first campaigning army is going to get a test run through me. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, just for those interested, I have 6 command, 7 influence and 4 management. Great stats, I'm sure you'll agree. A herald, a spymaster and a wise man. A natural born general, confident in defence, sharp, very lively, a sneaky ambusher, a night fighter, even-handed, a victor and a faction leader. Of course. Of course. Look at me. I'm glorious. So there's not much else for me to say other than I know what I'm going to be doing, so yeah. Thank you very much. Here in Carthage we have Theodecalus, who is 34. 4 command, 0 influence and 2 management. Merchant, priest of Baal, and a desert scout in terms of his stats. He's a subject of rumours. He got married and his wife sleeps around. Could be an interesting roleplay perspective. Skilled bureaucrat, social drinker, loyalty is questioned, confident attacker, good commander, bloody, night fighter, and even-handed. Some interesting traits and stats there. Quite good at trade also. Interesting traits. Some good roleplay opportunities there with Theodecalus. And of course he's in the city, the capital city. He's in Carthage. So an important man. An important man. In terms of his lot, he was responsible for overseeing the recruitment of the or half of the first campaigning army. He's done a sterling job, making sure that they're all nicely armoured or weaponed with some decent weaponry. High tax rate, which is as high as it can go really without ticking people off. In terms of the recruitments that you can do here, as you've seen, he can recruit pretty much everything available to us at the moment. Elephants, horses, spears, infantry and agents. Everything is open to this man on the military front, because this is our military powerhouse settlement. Currently building an elite cavalry stables to assist with our war elephants. And in terms of the building, look at that. Everything is open. It's going to be easier to see what you can build through looking at the browser. So currently at level 4, but there are still some level 3 buildings available militarily. Archery range, armourer, for instance, execution square, bazaar there, sorry, shipwright. We've got the sewers, the public baths, the academy is now open to us, and an upgrade to the Temple of Baal, which would not quite give us the sacred band, but it would be one step closer. So still a hell of a lot of level 3 buildings left to build here, but of course we are focusing on the elite cavalry stables for now, and then all the level 4 buildings will become available once these have been built in as a prerequisite. So still a lot of building work to do here. So Theodecalus, very important man. He's at the capital. Lots of building options available. Lots of work for this man to do. A good family member if you get lucky enough to control him. So then we move over to Sicily, recently conquered Sicily, where we have Theages. Theages is 35. Theages is 35. Let's take a quick look at him. He's 0, 1 and 4, the old stats here. Traits and followers, he's got a 3-man clerk, he's got a merchant, a priest of Melkar, and an Egyptian tomb robber, and an idiot savant. He's a skilled bureaucrat, he's religious, he's a trader, he's an angry man. Another good roleplay opportunity. And he's financially irregular. Could also be a good roleplay opportunity. And an architect. An angry man that likes to do things for his own gain when it comes to all things financial. Interesting. Yes. So that is Theages. In terms of the tax rate here in the city, it's currently at high. Still a bit of scope for more if we want, or less, depending on what your goals are. Considering he likes money, I'd probably suggest maybe more. In terms of recruitment, he can recruit some Iberian infantry, some boats, and not much else at the minute. And in terms of the buildings, here's what's available to build. Again, building grounds are probably best. It's a level 3 settlement with walls, barracks available. Still some level 2 military stuff to build, should you wish to go military. Sewers still to build as well, and then of course there's level 3 buildings after that, such as Execution Square, upgrade to a shipwright if necessary. Again, academies available. So a bit of scope there for some build policies to be ironed out, depending on what you want to achieve as your financially irregular angry man. That is Theages. Messana, I think, is governorless at the moment, but it's part of Sicily, which is recently conquered, so other governors in this area may wish to just oversee Messana from a little bit of a distance. Got a token garrison and some buildings that can be built at level 2, should we wish it to happen. But yeah, the last family member, I think, is Bizaltes, who is also now the faction heir. Now, obviously, when the faction leader dies, I would take over as Bizaltes as the faction leader. But I'm happy for you to keep him warm for me in the meantime. He is 21. 21. He's got a semi-decent garrison, I'd say, to help in case the Romans land on our shores. Infantry, mercs, some horses. Elephants and horses are being retrained here and will come back to him as per the original plan, so that he'll have just that extra bit of security. But yeah, he's loving life. His people are happy. Tax rate is currently at normal. Let's take a look at him. He's 21, 1, 3 and 0 with a shield bearer, command talent, even-handed, a victor, untouched by fear, a draftsman, likes building, and a faction heir, of course. So that's Ald Bisaltes, good with construction. Speaking of which, some level 2 buildings outstanding militarily. Stables, archery range and blacksmith. Also got some farming, roads, sewers and a temple upgrade left at level 2. But the city is level 3 as well, so there's some level 3 buildings available, such as the Execution Square. Rest of these will be available once the level 2 prerequisites are done. So that's the position with good old Bizaltes. So in terms of the actual campaign situation, that's a hot spot. That's a hot spot. And this is a potential hotspot, because I was planning with Hanno to start to take the fight to the Romans initially, with Hasdrubal going to, for instance, Corrales, taking that, and then hopping across and landing an army down here on the southern tip of Italy to start taking down the Brutii. In preparation for that, there are agents just scouting out and waiting patiently. These will fall under the control of the small council once the small council is in place. Whilst the small council is not in place, agent movements will be determined by the faction leader, just to make things a bit simpler. So yeah, considering I am the faction leader and I am controlling this army, I still may wish to carry out my father's original plan. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the roleplay takes us. I may change my mind, depending on what happens. So yes, that's the position. As I said, the save game will be in the description should you wish to have a dive in a bit further. But yeah, I think I've given you enough to work with should you be selected as a family member. And even if you're not, a family member and just want to take control of a character of your choosing. You may wish to roleplay as a character in one of the armies, as a merchant, as whoever takes your fancy. That's one of the benefits of, I suppose, not being a family member, is that you can create whoever the hell you wish. And take them in any direction you wish and not be constrained by your kind of family member's location. So, yeah. Anyway, I've rambled on for long enough. This video should be about 40 minutes, which is a decent length. So, all I want to say to finish off is I hope as many people as possible get involved in this. The more, the merrier. The role plays that I've done in the past have been all memorable for a variety of different reasons. We've always had a decent turnout, always had some good fun, and that's what this is about. It's about having fun, creating a story that will enable us to remember this campaign fondly. And yeah, let's see how it pans out. So as I said, get your requests to me for a faction member, should you wish to want one. Get them to me by Saturday, early hours of Saturday morning, to enable me to pick those at random. The announcement video will go up on Sunday, and then we shall get this show on the road. So until then, folks, I'll see you soon.